Now, India, of course, is all set for the testing of the Agni-V missile. It is the fifth in a series of medium and long-range nuclear-capable ballistic missiles that have been developed by India. Now, India, of course, is preparing to test the Agni-V right now. We are given to understand that India has been long planning this test. And this, of course, is the fifth in the series of medium and long-range nuclear-capable ballistic missiles that have been developed by India. The missile was first tested in 2012, with subsequent tests being carried out in 13, 15, 16, 18 and 21. Now, India's Defence Research and Development Organization, that's the DRDO, began developing the Agni-V missile in 2008. It also has the potential to be launched via a submarine. So this is being seen as a huge boost to India's defense sector. The Agni-V project, of course, is aimed at enhancing India's nuclear deterrence against China, which has missiles like the Dongfeng 41 with ranges between 12,000 and 15,000 kilometers. Right, joining me right now is Major Gaurav Arya. Major Arya, good afternoon. How do you see this testing that's taking place? Of course, this is going to be the bulwark of our nuclear deterrence.
Absolutely. Agni-V is a missile that has been in the testing for some years now, and it has always met its mark, always met the mission parameters that it was assigned. And this is a welcome step. And after a few more trials, I think it will be formally inducted into the armed forces. And this is the bulwark. Yes, you're very right when you use that term bulwark for all our nuclear warheads. Mostly this is how they'll be carried. Of course, a nuclear warhead can be delivered through a plane, through an aircraft also, but this is the surest way, long-term way. And they said that the Agni missile has a range of 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers. However, that part is confidential. I've spoken to a couple of scientists and they refuse to comment on the range. And, when I asked them, that media says it's 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers, they just smiled and they said, well, whatever the media says is right. We don't want to comment on this. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people knowledgeable in these matters say that the range is much, much more than that. So this is where it stands. Extremely capable missile, a missile that has got, China very worried, because most of China now comes, in the range of Agni-V.
And now that you touch upon that topic, Major Arya, I wanted to understand from you, the capability we understand of this missile is to reach even the northernmost parts of China. And obviously, with the skirmishes that have been reported, it's going to be a bit worrying for China, isn't it?
No, absolutely. It's going to be worrying for China. It has been worrying for China. But, the problem is that China believes India is a benign power. That is what China believes, which is why China comes to the line of actual control every year and tries to push, because China thinks and China believes that there will be no retaliation. I'm not saying use the Agni-V against China, but, China must know that India has the Agni-V and India has the willingness to use it. Not a nuclear warhead, but as a message to China that we have the capacity to, inflict great harm on your cities. And it's not the north of China that we seek, because there is nothing in the north or west of China. Whatever it is on the east and central part of China. That is where more than 85% of China's population lives. That is the industrial belt of China, right from Hong Kong onwards this side. So, if that part is reachable, I think it's more than sufficient. But the fact that it reaches the northernmost parts of China, that is a welcome step.
Right, just to tell our viewers that what we are given to understand is that Indian authorities have already issued a notice declaring the Bay of Bengal a no-fly zone ahead of the Agni-V ballistic missile being scheduled for testing over there. The Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha is where the test is going to take place. Ahead of the missile test, of course, China did send a spy vessel into the Indian Ocean on the 6th of December, and Major Arya will be able to tell us more, a little bit more about that. That, of course, has now gone back, Major Arya.
No, see, these testings and everything, they continue because scientific parameters have to be noted down and they are tested in various circumstances. Various mission parameters are completed. Now, there'll be some faults always when there is a missile launch or there is something like that. It may not be apparent to us, but to the scientists who are monitoring it on computers, on supercomputers, they would know what has happened. And there is always this desire to seek perfection, whether it's ISRO sending satellites or, DRDO firing these missiles all over. So, these various tests, what they do is they bring forth the mission parameters and then they see how far we can take this missile, how more effective can it be. And there are hundreds of things that scientists look forward to. So expect a lot more tests before it's finally inducted. Sometimes years and years of testing is done before everybody is satisfied and before the end user, in this case, the armed forces, are absolutely satisfied that this works. They're very finicky as far as quality and mission parameters are concerned. And this missile, needless to say, has met all of them.
Absolutely. Now, we are, of course, continuing our broadcast on this. What we are given to understand is that the missile is likely to be tested today. There is a NOTAM that's been issued in this area. It does come at the back of the skirmish that we saw with the Chinese PLA trying to occupy a peak. Pictures on your screen are of the testing that has happened before. Now, Major Arya, how would you see this as a message really coming at a time as it does? Now, there are two parallel developments that took place. One, as I was earlier mentioning, of course, was a Chinese research vessel which was there in the Indian Ocean region. And now, of course, the face-off that took place at Tawang. In the middle of all this, how do you see this launch? Testing, I beg your pardon.
See, well, this Agni missile test could have been India's way of messaging to the Chinese, but then Agni missile tests were happening for a long time. So this is not the first time the Agni-V has been tested. As far as the research vessel, which is more a spying vessel, which has been sent, they continuously send these vessels. They'll send it to Pakistan, they'll send it to Sri Lanka. Wherever they have created ports, they'll send a vessel saying that this is for research. There is no research that the Chinese do. All their technology, the world knows that all their technology is stolen from the United States of America. This is theft. That China is doing all technology is theft, basically. The Chinese have invented nothing, zero, zilch. So essentially, these are spying vessels to find out what India is up to. And yes, this Agni-V missile, that India has fired will send a definite message to the Chinese, but more such tests are called for. And also the calibration and the communication of political intent to China. That, there will be a time when what is happening on the line of actual control will not be confined to sticks and stones. There will be a time when it will get kinetic, because when you push, the Indian army enough, and I'm not even saying that the government will do it. I'll tell you from an army man's perspective. And these things are very, very important, because in the national scheme of things, they don't play out and people don't understand this. In the end, the sword arm of the Indian army who actually fights is the company commander.